are presenting a highly respected man in our society, an academic, an educationist, and a complete gentleman who not only he has lived in Umuowa, he also went through all his educational endeavor from primary school, secondary school, and then university took him out of the Umuowa space. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to introduce our highly respected elder, Mr. Benedict Uwakwe'S. Sir, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Our people out there and the general public would want to know your biodata, your academic qualification, work experience, posts you have held in Umuowa community.
Yeah. I spent most of my time growing up in Umuowa, and then a little to a neighboring town for some kind of shortcut or maybe college, but they're all nearby towns. My primary school is Central School in Umuowa here. Then it was St. Mary's Primary School. Then secondary school is the St. Saviour's Omaka. In St. Saviour's, I made a little name. In my last years, I was a senior prefect. I played basketball in St. Saviour's. And from St. Saviour's, I got into the state Eastern Region team. I was captain, Eastern Region basketball team, which includes Abia, Ebonyi, Cross River, and all the rivers. I was captain of their team, and I got even into the national team. And from secondary school, I had the opportunity of traveling outside Nigeria to play basketball. But then the war came in, and I couldn't continue with the Nigerian basketball team until after the war. By then, things have overtaken what I could do with basketball. But then it didn't stop me. When I went to Alban, I was a star player. When I went to Ibadan, I was a star player. And even from these two colleges, I traveled again outside Nigeria to represent my college or my university. Then I read physics, chemistry at NCE level in Alban Ikoku. Then it used to be Advanced Teachers Training College until it became Alban Ikoku College of Education. I read physics, chemistry there. Then I went to Ibadan and read chemistry with special education. I wanted to know something about making the handicapped learn, particularly the deaf and the mentally retarded. So I made a degree in chemistry and special education. Then in my working life, I taught a little in the primary school before I went to Alban Ikoku. And then after Alban, I taught in Enugu State, Ache in Ojiriva, precisely. And I was there until they created Imo. And then I had to come home to work in my state. So I came back and I was posted to Umuowa, Fugri, I was there, and from there I left Ibadan. After Ibadan, I came back again home here and taught in Okoda, secondary technical, for some 5-6 years. And then I applied to go and practice the little special education I learned. I was posted to Orlu. I served there as a vice principal for some 5-6 years again, and then I was made a principal. I wasn't posted to a special school as principal. I went to the hearing school. That's what they call other schools other than the deaf school. So I was posted to a hearing school in Isialambano. Then I went, Isialambano is in Uwakwe'S zone, educational zone. So I walked around Uwakwe, Isialambano to Ehime, and then it was from Ehime that I came back again to Orlu. Orlu is another zone other than Uwakwe. And when I came back to Orlu, I worked at Orlu East, Omuma. And then from Omuma I went to Amocha. From Amocha I came back home, Umuowa, my own native land, or my town. And I worked at Umuowa Secondary Technical School after Amocha, and then retired from there. That's my school life and my stations where I did work either as a classroom teacher or as a principal of the school. So that's it.
Okay, sir. Having heard from you as a seasoned educationist, we would like to tap the benefit of that exposure in knowing a bit of history of Umuowa from you. Sir, at this juncture, we may like to know from you what you know about the history of Umuowa.
Yeah. Umuowa, when I was a young man or a small boy, there were stories about the origin of Umuowa. Some said Umuowa, they were picked up in the bush where people were rummaging the bushes for snails and things like that. And then they picked Umuowa there. That's why we are called Umuowa. Others said we didn't migrate from anywhere. We just saw ourselves here. All we know is that Umuowa have some who originally found themselves in Umuowa, didn't come from anywhere. But there were some villages that migrated from some places. But everybody accepts that we are all Umuowa indigenous, because whether they migrated or saw themselves here, eventually everybody accepted or still accepts Umuowa as our home. And we had cooperated very, very well. Nobody thinks of the others not being a native. We are natives of Umuowa. And we got on well with ourselves. Initially, Umuowa was divided into 5 Itenkwa. Because one thing that united Umuowa very well is our Okonko. And this Okonko performed on a Kede in Umuowa, that is the market of the town. And the Umuowa, every market has a god that owns it. The ordinary Umuowa man, without the religious bias, accepts that a Umuowa has a god behind it, Okunabu. So the Okonko is performed on a Kede once a year, and then on that day, Umuowa would always be full of joy everywhere, because every indigene of Umuowa, even women, would nod, even if they are not allowed to dance the Okonko. The men, if anybody in Umuowa had the beating of the drums of Okonko and wouldn't at least nod his head while the music was going on, then that person, I'm afraid, is not a true native of Umuowa. So Umuowa then was divided into 3 major areas, Itenkwa. There is Umubu, one of the Itenkwa group. There is Oja, another. There is Umojima, another. There is Umudadur, Umudike. They also constitute another Oko, Umudadur, and Umudike. They constitute another Itenkwa. And there is Umuezukwe, another Itenkwa. And then Umudim. I think Umuezukwe and Umudim. Umudim is a different Itenkwa, Umuezukwe is another. So I don't know whether I've counted 5. Umojima and Umuogo, 1 Itenkwa. Umubu, 1 Itenkwa. Oja, 1 Itenkwa. Umudadur, Umudike, and Oko, another Itenkwa. And then Umudim is another Itenkwa of his own. So that is Umuowa, the way we saw it. And Umuowa had 1 town union with 1 leader. And I think the most notable, the most renowned of all the leaders of these Umuowa is, or was then, Samwamba. He was a very powerful and good leader. Everybody almost worshipped him. That is Sam Anugum of Oja. He led Umuowa very, very well. And then, before Samwamba got into that position, Umuowa and Owerebiri were brothers and had 1 town union, Umuowa and Owerri. But at one point, Owerebiri got their independence. Otherwise, in those days, they were Umuowa. They got independent and became Owerebiri and went home and had their own union. Because I think they had some problem within the union, that is the Umuowa and the Owerebiri alliance. But there was one man, Chief Ebujo, an Owerebiri man. He makes fun of that old alliance of Umuowa and the Owerebiri. I may have to say this in Igbo. Chief Ebujo said, Umuowa, no worry. mere union afọ mmolu. I don't hold to question. Had died. So Orebi had to go, and that's how Umuowa stayed on his own. I had a union afọ mmolu. Hold to question Ajura had a share and the market ways. It's just because statement. But that didn't stop Umuowa and Orebi cooperating. They are still brothers. So that's it. And then for the origin of Umuowa, I said before, some had different stories about Umuowa originated. But all we know is that Umuowa is one of the towns that make up Ebejiashi Asa. Iwomachi. We are the children of Achi. That's what we were told, and that's what we accept. Achi is the person from whom Eziachi got his name. Eziachi. Then the others, Eziachi itself, Orlu town, even Mbe, that is in Dato now, Umuzika, Urebi, who am I living out there? Supposed to be 7. Omana. Then have I counted 7?
Medioca.
No, Medioca is Medioca. Medioca, I don't think so. But there are 7 altogether.
Amifeka.
Aha, some part of Amifeka, I think, belongs to Omachi. These Achi children, Nemo to here, Haneme Mume, and Haneme Mume, one after the other. Amike is one of them. Yes. Orlu town, Eziachi, Amike, Umona, Orebiri, Umuowa. That's 6 now. I think, have I said Mbe?
Yes, Mbe.
Mbe. Yes, Mbe. So this is the composition of Ebezachi Asa. Later, the modern people now made it Eba Asato. I don't remember who made it the 8th one, but that 8th one is not part of the children of Achi. Yeah. That's much I can talk for now about Umuowa, his origin, and his brothers outside Umuowa. Yes.
Stop for now. Stop. Sir, this Ebeziachi. Do we have any cultural festivals the children of Achi do have together?
Maybe they did in the past. I wasn't born then, but in my own time, there is none that they celebrate together, but there is a type of festival that they celebrate in turns. One of them, one principal one, is Emume. I've already said that one. Everybody, every Achi son and his community would celebrate Emume. Emume is a time of homecoming for every home. Somebody and his children and grandchildren would come together on an appointed day, and the old mother or grandmother now would feast them with whatever she has with the husband, and it will enable all the children of that family and their grandchildren. It gives an opportunity to meet. Then everybody knows his root. Usually on the mother's side, because you go to your grandma. And then we celebrated this thing, these Emume in turns. During the time Mbe starts it off, and then other towns will follow. I don't know the order, but other towns will follow, and they celebrate the Emume. There, you will eat the rare things, okwa, breadfruit preparation, oba and jap and all that. That is cassava tapioca made into a kind of porridge with okwa. And then while going to the Emume, your own father would bring pan one which you will carry to your grandma, your mother's home. And then when your own town will be celebrating, your own children outside of your daughters married outside will also come to your home. Everybody does it. But everybody would go to his grandma's home to celebrate the Emume. In fact, close to the Emume is Umuowa. Umuowa is a kind of celebrating the end of food scarcity. Umuowa is a period when food becomes scarce, and then mothers will have to depend more on the food they were able to store during the period of plenty, like plantain. During the time of plantain, it will be cut into little pieces, boiled for a short time, and then dried in the sun and stored into a huge basket. And it's called Opuru. It's a very huge basket. The cocoyam would also be boiled briefly and sliced into small pieces and stored into the same Opuru. It's mainly plantain, cocoyam. Then during the time of scarcity, you eat that. Get vegetables, as vegetables are plenty now. The old yams are almost finishing. So the old mother would go into the Opuru and pick up these dried foodstuffs. Even some yams that were trying to go bad, they would also slice into pieces and parboil it, and also dry them up and then stored. So that in those days, mothers didn't lack much during the time of scarcity. Then the Umuowa is the period you celebrate. At the Umuowa period, the first yams would have started maturing in the farm, particularly the farm around the house. The old man of the house there is always for every small unit of a community, the oldest man there would host every other person, and then the men would, I'm describing Umuowa now, the men would buy cocks, not hens, which they will offer to the god of the family, and then will take one roast fowl, a cock. They will all gather in the home of the oldest person. But in some communities, the man that has the author title, the oldest among them, would host this gathering. Everybody will gather there, and then every adult male visiting or coming up to that activity will bring his own boiled and partially dried fowl. We'll bring it there, and they put them all down, and then they'll divide up the fowls. What do you call the dead fowl now that is prepared for consumption? I think it has a name in English. Roasted. The roasted fowls now will lie down all over the place. And then they will cut out the legs, cut out the wings, cut out the head, the neck region, and the waist region. And then we'll gather the ekokoko, that is the
lizard?
The gizzard. The gizzard will be gathered together, the waist region will be gathered together, the legs will be gathered together, and the trunk will be gathered together. And then they know how to apportion them. And then everybody, and all the kids, males now, not the girls, all the male kids will gather there, and it is there you know who is your immediate elder and who is your immediate junior in your own village. So everybody will sit down there and then enjoy the meal of Igbo man. It's very, very enjoyable. And then we'll go home at the end of it.